my gosh.
The World Championship.
What is this?
This is fishing moss. Just do a quick cast. Reel anyone in. Woo! He's got a big one. His name was Andrew Andrews on YouTube. He said, "Why am I pro? I'm so far behind everyone." Okay, so welcome back to the channel. It's been a couple of weeks since I put out a video. My last video would have been the race debrief from IRONMAN Texas. I've had a fairly intense couple of weeks since being home. Obviously, I was away for the best part of 7 to 8 weeks. So coming home, there was a lot to do on my to-do list and things that I wanted to get done. The first of which obviously was traveling back and getting over the jet lag from flying from the States back to Europe. It's always difficult and takes 3 or 4 nights to kind of get back on the usual time of not waking up at silly o'clock in the morning and waking up more of my regular sort of 5-6 a.m. time. We had a wedding to go to on the 3-4 days after we were back, which is always fun, but also quite tiring. It was sort of a 90-minute drive away. Did the wedding for the whole day and drove home. So that was quite a busy Saturday. And the day before that was actually the results to the local elections for the local councils here in the UK, of which it was the first year that I put my name on a ballot paper and went to see. Didn't expect to win and didn't expect to gain a seat, but was very interested in being part of the vote count and verifying that and actually going up on stage, etc. at the end when they read out the results. Ironically, I was the only candidate that was present from the seat that I was running for, and I did say to the electoral officer that if this was a Kona ceremony, I would win by default. So a little bit annoying that politics doesn't quite work like that, because I actually bothered to show up. So I will be reminding next year, or next time I run, I'll be reminding people on my leaflet that, you know, I actually bothered to show up, and therefore you should maybe vote for me rather than other candidates. Last week, so from the 6th of May, you know, I had a few things on, like first year sorting out my company accounts for the first time, which wasn't as painful as I thought, partly because I've been a bit OCD and kept pretty good records throughout the first year, but sorting out that stuff, which I've been meaning to do for a while. The other part was sorting out this account. So since we monetized in February, I think I've earned about £100 on YouTube, and it was sat in the Google AdSense account, and I needed to put in my tax information and whatnot so that money can actually come out. And I've instantly spent it on a new GoPro handle, so invested it back in the channel, if you like, so I can get some wider angled shots when out cycling in particular and in the swimming pool potentially and whatnot. So thank you very much to those that didn't skip the adverts, and the few pennies that creates made its way over to me. We also took on a new coach. So a very good friend of mine, Joe Spraggins, has joined Optimal Endurance, setting him up with his email address and starting to advertise him and put him in touch with some potential clients and stuff, which is really positive, but a lot of time and energy goes into that sort of stuff. And then making the decision whether or not I do Hamburg, the race. And yeah, it looks like that is going to happen. Now, the plan post-Texas, if things went well, was to have some time off for a couple of weeks and then start my, I wouldn't say like Kona build up, because it's an awful long way out from a race to sort of focus on one race, but certainly start sort of back into sort of my normal training routine, start plotting and planning more what I want to do or achieve by the end of my career break, which is at the end of July, where I want to get to before returning back to work, and then ultimately building towards Kona. However, I've always had the backup plan to do Ironman Hamburg. So once Fenella knew her season layout, I entered all the same races effectively, or the races that I could do. Although I don't like to have and wouldn't normally have like a backup Ironman sort of 4 or 5 weeks after one. As I was in my career break, it's my once in a lifetime opportunity to sort of do that. And I didn't want to miss out on an opportunity to race just through sort of bad planning and whatnot. Almost immediately after Texas, I needed to make a decision whether or not I was going to do Hamburg. I couldn't leave it over a week of sort of no training or very little exercise, and then expect to sort of do a few peak weeks of training and then taper back off to Hamburg. So effectively having some time off post Texas was a no-go. So middle of the week, once we got back from America, that first weekend, the 3rd, 4th and 5th of May, I got back to training. Now, by no means did I get back to any intense training. I still had a big question mark over my calf. Obviously, it got through the race and got through a marathon, but I needed to make sure, or needed to know, that if I did do Hamburg, that the calf was not going to be an issue, or a very, very small chance of that. And I effectively had 4 weeks to sort of figure that out. Last week, I got a 25-hour training week done. Fairly balanced across all 3 disciplines. Just about 21k-ish of swimming, about 14 hours on the bike, and about 4 hours of running in total. And at the weekend in particular, on the Saturday, I did a 90-minute bike ride with some intensity, sort of above and under Ironman power as such. And then I did an hour run off the bike at 4:10 per kilometre pace, which is under that sub 3 hour marathon pace. And for the most part, that hour, my heart rate was lower than it should be in an Ironman. Obviously, the bike ride was a hell of a lot shorter, so that would be one factor. But the fact that I can run off the bike, A, at that pace and intensity, and B, my heart rate not be exceeding where I'd expect it to be, shows that I can do it. And my calf tolerated it, had no soreness, no need to, stretch it, no tightness, etc. So I could firmly tick that box. And to get sort of best part of 30 miles of running done last week means I can hopefully do the same this week, if not a little more. And then we're into the 2 weeks before the race where you're sort of ticking back over again. On Sunday, because the Saturday went well, Fenella wanted to go do a long ride, so I made my way over to where they live in the Bath area, and we went out and effectively did a 6-hour ride. It was just under 100 miles around the sort of Bath, South Wales, Gloucester region. Really good to get a 6-hour ride sort of in the legs, and we did a 45-minute run off the bike. Very easy in terms of pace-wise, but very hilly at the same time. And that was actually my first outdoor run since Texas. And to sort of run outdoors on some questionable terrain. So Fenella nailed the bike route planning. Not entirely sure she's nailed the run route planning. Perfect for someone with a dodgy calf. So we're now into the last week where I can actually train in terms of do a 20+ hour training week before I need to knock back the volume a bit again leading into Hamburg. So touch wood, as long as I make it through this week, I will definitely go to Hamburg and definitely race. A few tests this week that I've got planned, not just for calf related, but just fitness and sort of confidence, etc. Tuesday, so this evening, I'm going to go do the club 10-mile time trial that I do a few times of the year for Verulam, which I'm a member of, mainly just to ride at some intensity outside. It's on a bit of road that I like riding my TT bike on, and hopefully the weather seems to have dried up now, so a good 21 minute sort of hit out there on the TT bike. On Saturday, so in 4 or 5 days time, I'm going to do the Outlaw Sprint Triathlon. Now, I had entered this, when did I enter it? I think I entered it the day after Texas. It was on my schedule. It was on my schedule as in I wanted to do it, and I wanted to see how I fared post Texas. I was obviously frustrated, and what you normally do when you're frustrated post-race is you have 24 hours of thinking you're going to quit the sport, and then you spend 24 hours finding a race to go do imminently afterwards to sort of have some fun. So the plan is to go and have some fun with that. I haven't done a sprint for, I think 2019 might have been the last time I've done a sprint. So for about 5 years, somewhat around an hour of racing, if you like. It also means I can be in and around Nottingham. We've got 4 or 5 athletes doing the race for multiple endurance there, so I can meet a few of the guys and girls from the team. and just be part of that weekend, if you like. And then on Sunday, I either will stay and watch the half distance race, which is the main event for the Outlaw weekend, or there is a race closer to home, a 100k race, which is, it's about a 2k swim, an 80k bike, and a 20k run, something like that. And I've penciled that into my schedule mainly as it's the last day that I would do a brick session of any sort of intensity and duration. I am in the mindset of I'll be far more motivated to sort of push myself a bit and do that in a race rather than come home and ride on the turbo or what have you and then run off it, if you like. So the plan is to maybe do a weekend of back-to-back racing. Fortunately, that race on the Sunday, I don't need to make a decision on that until effectively the Sunday/Saturday night. So I can do the Outlaw sprint, touch wood, the calf's fine with a sort of 5k hard effort, and then I can do that race. If all of that goes well and I don't pull anything or I feel great and everything's good, I will book my flights to Hamburg and sort out my accommodation and go and do that race.